Let's do this.
All right, ready?
Steve's gone. Steve's totally gone, dude. It's over.
I'm baking bread. I have a garden.
Holy fucking shit.
We're so done. We're so done, dude.
All right,
It's
come
over.
on, boys. This is
okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Digital Entrepreneur Show. This is the show where we talk about how you can use all things digital to start, run, and grow your very own small business, whether you are an online or offline entrepreneur. Tim Knox here, as always, my co-host, Steve GAMLIN. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Tim?
I'm doing, man, I'll tell you what, fantastic. I'm fantastic. That's how are you?
A lot of
Professor?
points in
man,
Scrabble.
I love it. Miss you guys. Love it. Good
I'll
to
tell
see
you
guys.
what, we haven't done a show and we haven't recorded in a couple of weeks, folks. And so for the last hour, it's just been just crazy. Jeez, I'm exhausted, guys. I'm going to have to take a nap after this show. Hey, if you are interested in starting your own digital entrepreneur or endeavors, do us a favor, click the subscribe button below. If you click on the little bell icon, YouTube will actually, out of the goodness of its heart, let you know every time we launch a video. And we do them once a week now. We were doing them twice, but gosh darn, guys, we're busy fellas. So we're doing them once a week. Every Friday at noon Pacific time, you can see a new episode. And we do live shows, time permitting. This is one of the bad things, guys. You got 3 really super busy entrepreneurs trying to record a show every week. And I don't think people appreciate what we have to go through to make this happen. And today, I'm on my 3rd shirt, guys. I've sweated through. It's just crazy. One thing I want to talk about is we always get a lot of really good comments on our YouTube channel, and our old buddy Gord, who is our #1 commenter, Gord,
Hey,
always
Gord.
brings up some great points. And he always, he was talking about on one of our previous shows, when to pivot, how to be flexible, how to get to a point in your business where you know that you need to do something different. And this is really relevant for me, guys, because I am in the process of pivoting myself. I know you can't tell by looking at me, but I'm changing my YouTube channel, actually just trying to get a focus. You know, you guys, we all have a good time. If you go on my channel, you got everything from stand-up comedy to old TV appearances to, you know, the entrepreneurial advice, you know, the commentary stuff. And it's very spastic. And so what I'm in the process of doing is pivoting, or more to the point, narrowing in my focus on one area, which in my case is going to reflect what I do for a living, which is writing and editing and that sort of thing. So I thought what we would do, guys, is talk a little bit about being flexible as an entrepreneur, knowing when to change, when to pivot, how to choose a better direction to go in. And so is that good? You guys want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that's good, because that's what we're talking about. Hey, Steve, let's start with you, because you and I, we've kind of followed the same career path. Old radio guys, entrepreneurs. We do speaking. We write books. What are your thoughts about how to know when it's time to pivot? How to know when it's time to do something different?
I think when whatever you're doing isn't working anymore, isn't showing the return it is anymore, first off, you do a little self-reflection. Am I still giving this everything it needs? Am I still doing everything I used to do to try to get the result? And then figure out if the world isn't kicking back the same way that it used to. Somebody explained it to me in a great way one time. Think of somebody who used to sell VCRs. At some point, they had to pivot because that old model went away. Well, if what you're doing suddenly becomes the old model, you can try to stick it out and be the only guy in town left selling this particular thing for those couple of people left using it, or you can just take it to the next level. Maybe you have to add a new skill. Maybe you just have to just bank it off the wall a little bit differently to target. And just look at all the, I love what you said about your YouTube channel. You're narrowing the focus. You're pivoting and making something else the priority. So that's going to be your top playlist. Or it might even be the only thing left on there. Who knows? But you've got to be willing, I think, as a person who's out there, captain of your own ship, you've got to be willing to understand that at some point that's going to be your only decision publish or perish. You're going to continue to be able to do what you do, or you're just going to go away and be people saying, hey, remember that guy who used to do this?
Yeah.
Wow, he's not even around anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes, Nez, I think you pivot out of need and because the market is telling you to pivot. Other times, like me, I'm just trying to focus in on what I really care about and what is my core thing. Nez, what are your thoughts?
You just hit it right there. I think that there's that it's a fine line. It's a fine tightrope as creators that you have to of digital entrepreneurship and running an actual business, right? Mm-hmm. The audience decides, the market decides. You don't really have to overthink it, honestly. I mean, I think that, if you're not adapting to and if you're not listening to what your ideal client and your ideal customers want, and you're not providing that service, your business is going to suffer.
Right.
And that includes, staying state of the art of the technology, staying, relevant, creating and providing value that's really impacting your audience in a very powerful way. And you can do this in many different myriads of forms. But then also as a creator, if you're not stimulated, if you're not somebody who is staying true to your principles and staying true to who you are as a creator, your audience smells that. And it doesn't come off as authentic. Mm-hmm. So that's a really tough tightrope. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in the build it they will come model, but I also don't believe in just kowtowing to every single people-pleasing need, possible. So how do you find that balance? To me, you just experiment. You got to stay invigorated as a creator, but you also must listen to your audience.
Yeah, I think you've got to listen to your audience, but you've also got to listen to yourself, Steve.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, and that's one of the things that I've been wrestling with because I'm like you, Nez. I love making these silly videos. It's
love
just
it.
Fun. This is great. I love turning on my little lights, turning on my little camera, and just, pretending that I'm Jacksepticeye's grandpa. I love that, right? But at the same time, is that the best use of my time? Because it's really not helping me pay the bills. And,
But it's helping you as a creator stay invigorated and stay stimulated and stay fresh. And it keeps you excited, and the audience can smell that, I think.
That is a really good point because I do enjoy these so much. And if I had my druthers, as we say here in the South, I'd rather do videos than go edit someone's memoir. But that guy paying me to edit that memoir would really like to work on his work. So to me, the YouTube has always just kind of been my creative outlet. Because my business, I write, I edit, I coach. I'm always focused. And is it fun? No, not particularly. Does it pay well? Yeah. So, so the YouTube stuff for me, Steve, is always just kind of been my fun outlet.
Yeah.
But I'm finally at a point now, and I had a conversation with our friend Brian G. Johnson on this about focus. And he said, Brian's very honest. He's like, you're all over the place, man. You got how to start a business videos. You've got, jokes. You've got, you're getting dildo magazines in your mailbox videos, which I love, by the way, the magazine video. But,
who doesn't love that?
Yeah. I mean, come on. But I got his point. You know what? Pick something and stick with it. But I'm all over the place, Steve. I have a hard time picking anything and sticking with it. So how about you? How do you focus, Steve?
It can be really tough. You have to understand. We had a conversation about this recently about a project we discussed, and I said, well, I got to be careful of my branding because it could have potentially taken me somewhere that is not my normal lane. And it shows another side of me that might be out there that might not be the side that helps to pay the bills. And I think with my YouTube channel, I'm a positive speaker who blends humor. I try to keep all of my videos kind of in that lane and having that creative outlet. The beauty of it is I've come up with stuff where I turn on the camera and the lights and I just spit out this video. And all of a sudden I realize, well, there's a little bit of a nugget there. And all of a sudden that becomes part of a stage presentation. So having that creative outlet where even if I'm not out speaking for a client on a certain day, or like you editing a client's book or something, we keep those little things going and going and going. And it keeps, first off, it keeps us engaged and entertained on our little journey. But it's a great source of future stuff that's part of your under your umbrella. And I think as creative people like us, all three of us, we need to keep doing that all the time, because I get bored very, very easily.
Yeah. Nez?
And every time I turn on the camera, it's what I want to do. It's not what a client says, I need you to do this.
Right.
Yeah. I had a quick question for you, Tim. So did Brian say, because I think what we're really talking about here sounds a lot like personal branding. And I love this because I really believe it's important. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of us, all three of us, are making a crap ton of money just on our platforms like YouTube and Facebook. We're mostly using that to leverage our message and gain leads for our real businesses, right? Our real, what we do for a living and how we pay the bills. Did Brian say not to be funny, or did he just say, or did he say just focus one channel and maybe do that on a different channel?
You know, Brian's advice was, it really had nothing to do with being funny. It was about focus on topic.
So he's not saying don't do funny videos. He's not saying don't.
Well, no,
he's saying focus.
He's saying, forget the funny commentary talking about airline fights and that sort of thing. If that's what I'm going to do, just do that.
Exactly.
And don't worry about all this other stuff. But
I actually agree.
And I'm sorry to make this about me, but
no, it's good. It's good.
You know, if you look at my stats, one of my playlists is a publishing playlist. It talks about Kindle Direct Publishing, how to write, all of that stuff. And that really gets more views and more comments and more hits than anything else I do. So Brian's advice is to find one thing that I really like, that I really enjoy doing, and focus on that. And the reason that I'm choosing the writing and the publishing is because that's what I do for a living. That's what my business is. And so that will help me get clients in the door more than just making stupid, funny videos.
And I would say, just to kind of piggyback on that, I would say, you know, if making those stupid funny, because I actually like that airline video that you made, but I would say then I would say that creating a different channel, focusing just on that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you see a lot of creators, you know, they'll do their kind of normal shtick, but they'll have like a family vlog, right? Like Tim Schmoyer or even Philip DeFranco, just to name a few YouTubers. They'll have their main kind of go-to home-based channel of what's been amplifying their message, but they also have a separate, but it's not, so the family vlog is not in that channel. It's a separate channel. And I know, Steve, you saw this today because you liked the post. I don't know if Tim did, but I actually posted a video of me going through my analytics. One video is really taking off. It was called How to Host a Talk Show, three simple tips for beginners. And I looked at the analytics and I posted that to our Facebook group. And this really speaks to what we're talking about. Listening to your audience, looking at actual measurable, leverageable, you know, stats, and paying attention to that. What are people, what's resonating with people? What does your audience want? What are they watching the most? And, you know, what do they want more of? And that gives you a better barometer, I think, on what to create. I want
to make one more comment, and then we'll get back to the topic.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I think Brian is dead on in his advice is every time I publish one of my comedy videos, I get unsubs from people who did not sign up for that kind of content.
Good point.
So if I've got,
Nick talks about that a lot too.
Yeah, if I've got 700 or 800 subscribers and I go back and look at where those subscribers came from,
exactly.
If you subscribe to my channel because you like my Kindle Direct Publishing videos, and then I do a video on airline violence, you're probably going to unsub. And so, you know, he makes the observation.
That's a great point.
It's just all over the place. So, yeah.
If you go to McDonald's and, you know, you wanted a cheeseburger and they give you a gourmet chicken Caesar salad, you're going to be like, "What? I didn't come in here. This is not what I subscribed for."
Right.
It's the same concept.
Am I the cheeseburger or the salad?
I was going to call you the double-double.
All right, well, thank you. But all right,
animal style. Definitely animal style.
Yeah, let's get back on topic here, Steve. We're talking about knowing when to pivot, be flexible, change in your business. And sometimes, Steve, that's kind of hard for entrepreneurs to do because, number one, we kind of hone in and we love what we're doing, but more often than not, we don't want to admit that we're wrong. We don't want to say, you know, damn it, this isn't working, but I told everybody it was going to work.
Yeah.
So, Steve, talk a little bit about the ego and the part it plays in an entrepreneur's life when things are not working or something needs to change. It's really hard to put that ego aside, isn't it?
It can be. Yeah. When you're an entrepreneur, you're everybody's hero until you screw it all up.
Yes.
And everybody thinks you're great, you're lucky and all this and that. And you want to keep that image going. And you want to appear to still be in control and confident and in charge and all of these things. But you do have to really let the ego go sometimes and understand that it is financially. I mean, it's all in how much money you're bringing in. And if what you're doing isn't working anymore, you have to do something.
Right.
And too many people out there say, I'm just going to keep doing what I've always been doing. And it doesn't work. And so many people say, I'm point A, point B, and here's what I do. I do this straight line back and forth. Being an entrepreneur is more like a connect the dots. And it's these little short distances and decisions that eventually can make something appear, but you got to be flexible enough to know, okay, I went this far this way. Now I got to go this way.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit this way. A new technology comes up. All these different social media platforms didn't exist 12, 15 years ago.
Right.
And we just did the straight ahead things. Now we're all over the place. Now the challenge of it all is analysis paralysis. If you all of a sudden look around and say, I could do this, 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 and you don't know how to do it, you're stuck.
Yeah.
So you're going to just pick one and try it. If it doesn't work, you can try something else. None of these things is going to kill you if you screw it up.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. But you got to be willing to put your ego and your brains aside, just take your balls and go try something different. And that's a big part of being an entrepreneur.
Is this a reoccurring theme?
But that's a big part of this
brand.
is you got to be willing to take the hit and to screw it all up, to go out there and advance to the next thing. And I just think there's too many people out there who they have this image of being an entrepreneur and in control of everything. Yeah. And they're not willing to admit when they screw up. And if you can't do that, you're not going to learn anything and you ain't going to be able to move forward.
Yeah. And sometimes, Nez, economics dictates that you change. If your product goes out of date, nothing is more fickle than a customer. Yeah. So if all of a sudden your business is doing this, you need to figure out why, and you need to flex it, change it and pivot and go in a different direction. So, Nez, talk a little bit about that. I mean, you're always talking about how the customer is right. Mm-hmm. Listen to your customer. Sometimes when your customer in the market's telling you to change, you damn well better change.
I mean, look at Blockbuster. Blockbuster could have been Blockbuster. I said this recently in a different context. Regarding live streaming, Blockbuster could have been Netflix. Yeah. They could have been Netflix. Right. If they really looked at the economics, and you see this with a lot of brick and mortar places. I mean, when's the last time you've been to a mall? If you're like me, I went to the mall with my kids recently, and it was like storefront after storefront after storefront. It was like a ghost town. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to adapt to the economics. You have to adapt to the climate of the times. Blockbuster really could have seized a huge opportunity. Netflix started off as this red box DVD crap, a real small. Now they're producing movies. They become a movie studio. You have to adapt. You got to pay attention. You got to research. You got to investigate. You got to do the work. We talked about this in a previous show. What does it take to be an entrepreneur? It's not just coconuts and what the hell did I say? I forgot.
Coconuts and
yachts. It's not just
coconuts. I ordered it on the front.
Hashtag coconuts and yachts. You got to put in the work and you got to research and find out the psychology of your consumer, find out what they want, find out. And it's not, I don't want to make it sound like you just kind of, completely just listen to your customer and that's it. And end all be all and everything they say is right. But for the most part, the marketplace is always right, right? I mean, the marketplace will always decide. And that was a huge opportunity. So, I think that's important to research, pay attention, look around, observe. What are people paying attention to? Because, John Taffer was on a show recently. He's the dude from Bar Rescue. Mm-hmm. And he said whenever he goes into a restaurant, if you don't know who he is, he does this Bar Rescue show. Yep. Whenever he goes into a restaurant, he says the very first thing is, are you grabbing the attention of your customers? Where's their attention going? Attention is the currency of the 21st century.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Coconuts and balls. Balls and coconuts.
You can see why I'm broke, because I have no attention to give you, my friends. I'll never forget, I was fortunate enough to have a conversation once with a guy. He was an entrepreneur here from where I'm from, here in Huntsville, Alabama. Started a company here in the mid-'60s, built it up. It was the first company to actually go public to come out of this area. And he talked about flexibility and changing his business. And he said the first few years that they were in business, he literally reformatted, reshaped, rethought the business probably a half dozen times, because we have NASA here, and he was building like little electronic components for rockets. Well, when one day he walked in and that contract dried up, so he could have shut the company down or he could pivot. And that's what he did. So he started doing this, and then he started doing this. And, after a dozen or so iterations, the company was called SCI. It was, as I said, the first IPO company here, was integral in the space program. And he will tell you the key to all that was the fact that he was willing to be flexible and not be so damn hard-headed not to change.
Yeah.
So, Steve, have you ever done that, Steve? Have you ever done a pivot in your business?
Yeah, I've done several over the years, whether it be a certain topic that I was talking about, or maybe, speaking industry, and Tim, you know this because you've done speaking. There are these certain old vehicles out there, like the Starfish story. There's the SMART acronym, all of these things, and that everybody was doing them. And all of a sudden it got to a point where if you said it, half your audience would roll their eyes and go, oh my God, I can't believe this guy is telling this. Well, I now go on stage and I just make fun of those things.
Yeah.
But I had to early on, I did those things, and believe me, I had to give some money back at an event one time because somebody hated me so much because I just came in and bullshitted for an hour on all this old crap, and it wasn't me. And they said, can I give you some suggestions? We love your energy. We love your style. Stop doing all that old crap.
Yeah.
Go do your own thing. And that was it was a kick in the butt learning point, but it changed my career forever. And now it actually helped people to give me more money because I came off as original, and now I'm doing my own thing. But I had to be willing to pivot and let go of those tried and true bricks from the foundation of the speaking world. Not everybody's willing to let go of those. I still see people out there telling these old things and not willing to let go and be themselves, be vulnerable enough to let the world see who they really are and stop thinking that they had to be this for the world. It's a tough decision.
You want to see a guy blow his top? Ask Larry Winget about the Starfish story.
Oh, yeah.
That story. So, but Nels, let's talk a little bit about what I would consider to be the ultimate pivot, and that is actually closing a business. Something has happened, either economics or whatever, but the revenue is no longer there. The losses are outweighing the profits. And I've closed a business. I think I'm like 12-2, 12 successes, a couple of bummers. And, it's a very emotional thing. You talk about ego, when you close a
it's like your baby.
You're like, you take the full blame for it. You feel like crap, but there comes a time where you have to look at the numbers. And that's what I tell everybody. It's all math.
It's all math.
We do is math.
It's all math.
No longer working, Nez. You're an academic. Sometimes you have to do the ultimate pivot and close the doors, right?
You got to put the baby to sleep. I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but you have to do it. And really, it's not the situation is very clear. It's your interpretation of the situation. Right. It's your reaction. The emotions get involved. You hear all the time. I'm kind of in. I don't know where you guys are. I'm kind of in between. Putting your emotions in business, not having them in business. I think if you're intelligent about your emotions, they can actually, like your passion and your enthusiasm, those are great things. But yeah, getting clingy and attached, or beating a dead horse. One of my, family's first businesses that I helped build and then we eventually had to close was a children's clothing line. This was in the early 90s. And it was a brick and mortar. I mean, the internet wasn't even around yet, really. But it just, it was something so personal. We had our own personal designs. We put so much our heart, because you put your heart and soul into these things. But then, when we pivoted into going into leather goods and leather manufacturing, it was just the wiser move. And the math was really obvious. I mean, the math was there. We looked at the margins. We looked at the advertising. We looked at the rent. We looked at the lease. We looked at the costs. It's really looking at the numbers and just being smart about it and not getting hung up. That's easier said than done, but it takes practice, but you can get there.
Well, a lot of it has to do, Steve, with me is throwing good money after bad. Because
Yes.
I had a really
point.
good thriving retail business for about 5 years, and a variety of things. I always call it the domino effect. This happened and this happened and this happened. And when the dominoes started falling, I walked in one day and went, what the hell happened?
Right.
And looked at the numbers, looked at the math, and I had enough money. Unless I put more money in it, I had enough money to last about 3 months at best. And so that was a conversation I had to have with myself and my wife. Do I continue pouring money into this in hopes that things will come back and turn around? Or is it
Very
a better
tempting
decision to just cut it and run, lose a shitload of money, and have 25 people lose their jobs? But do I continue pouring money into this until I have no more money left to go? So,
have you ever poured money into something, Tim, and then it work out?
I've done that too. Yeah, that's
interesting.
So hard not to.
Yeah, that's interesting because you think when you're investing in something,
right,
and you're so closely connected to it, as we've been talking about, and like, God, if I just put a little more advertising money behind it, if I just put a little more into kind of cost effectiveness and bringing that margin down, but then that's a tough one because sometimes it actually works, right?
Yeah, and you're rolling the dice at that point because
you're rolling the dice.
You really don't, but it just, I always try to look at things, and this is what I did with that business. I'm like, oh, this is where we are today. This is the trend that our revenue, and the reason is when we opened this retail store, we were the only one. We had the market. We kicked the crap out of it for about 5 years, 2 locations. And then I think once I proved the market concept, everybody was going, hey, let's give Tim a little competition. And someone moved in with far more money than I had. And literally, honest to God, when I opened the first store, we were the only store probably within 25 miles. When I closed 5 years later, there were, I think, 4 or 5 stores within a mile.
Interesting.
So it was one of those things. Am I going to put another $100,000 into this and hope it gets better? And I had looked at things, Nez, like adding different products. Or kind of in a
diversifying.
And even after I ran the numbers with my accountant, even diversifying, we were going to have to put in, I think it was $250,000. And I'm like, number one, I don't have that much in my couch anymore because I and again, the biggest thing was, am I throwing good money after bad? If I do put this money in, am I just going to lose that too? So, Steve, we've got about 3 minutes left. Your final thoughts on being flexible as an entrepreneur?
Definitely be flexible. And like we've mentioned there a couple of times, don't let your ego get in the way. Talk to your accountant, talk to your spouse, have an honest gut check with yourself. If what you're doing is not working, either pivot or kill it and go do something else. And what I've done, because I've had a couple of failures over the years, business ventures, take what you love most about it and figure out how you can pivot that into something else, but then build the strength and build the bricks around it to support it. But for me, there's always got to be something fun to it.
Yeah.
But then you got to remember it's a business and build around it. But don't be afraid to pivot a little bit. Yeah. It's going to help you in the long run if you stay flexible.
Yeah. And let me say one thing really quickly, Nez, and I'm going to let you close it out. I learned so much from the failure of that business.
Yeah.
I had been in business, 20, 25 years at that time. I had taught entrepreneurship. I thought I knew everything. You learn a lot when you're closing 2 retail stores with 40, 45 employees. Wow. So the good news is I took that knowledge and in my next business was very successful because I learned so much from that failure that it helped me eventually succeed. Nez, closing thoughts?
Yeah, and we talk a lot about and as Steve said, ego, definitely keep your ego out of it and definitely be flexible. But here's something maybe we haven't talked about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this just really quickly, is I see, because a lot of clients and even friends and family, they're employees. They're emotional about their employees, and their employees are not only deadbeats. Not only are they detracting from the business, but some of them are actually killing the business themselves. Yeah. But because you have this emotional, I can't get rid of Larry. I can't get rid of Stacy. She's been with us for 10 years. Yeah. What has? Did you just freeze for a second?
I don't know. Did you?
I think I did, maybe. I mean, getting emotionally connected with an employee, because sometimes it's tough to. You gotta. you got to get rid of that cancer early. That could be the main issue with your business. And just because you've had history with them doesn't mean you need to keep them.
Yeah. Yep. In fact, I'd like to do the next time we get together for this wonderful fiasco we call a show. Let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk about employees, because you strike a nerve there, because I had, I had a hard and fast rule before I went in the retail business. I do not hire friends. I do not hire relatives. And I broke both of those rules in that business, and I regret it to this very day. And I'll tell you why on the next show. So, hey guys, that's going to do it. This is the Digital Entrepreneur Show. Thanks for playing along. Don't forget, subscribe. Click that button down there. If you click the little bell icon, YouTube will notify you every time we do this. And God forbid you miss this. This, Nez and Steve, is an entertainment value. It's free.
And it's great therapy.
It's great therapy. Hey, guys, that's going to do it for Nez and Steve. Tim Knox. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you guys.